I'm John McGrath. I'm a producer for Kansas City PBS, and today on Art House, we bring you the Kansas Lensed feature film Head Count. Head Count was written and directed by Ben and Jacob Burghardt. We sat in the studios to talk to the brothers about their debut feature, an amazing short film that got them noticed, and their passion for telling stories set in and about their home state of Kansas.
What's in the gun? Okay, how many bullets are left? Think.
So Head Count is a movie about a guy who finds himself with his own revolver pointed at the back of his head, and he's trying to remember what happened to each bullet as the trigger gets pulled, and each bullet is sort of a different memory, almost a different short story. And through all these short stories, we see this larger picture of how he got in the situation and how he's going to escape, and a lot of fun to think of. If he escapes, yeah.
Let's have some fun!
Here, kitty.
So tell me the inspiration of it, Ben. What was the inspiration? Because it came from a short, and
right.
Tell me how it came about.
So we're big fans of, I think what you're trying to describe as like kind of a high concept idea. And so for us, it was a combination of the Coen brothers' Blood Simple, their earliest film, and then also Christopher Nolan's Memento. So it's kind of this Western kind of neo-noir that also has these elements of kind of detective trying to piece together a memory. And we kind of just fused those together, and that became Head Count. Yeah, originally it was a short film that we did for a 48-hour film festival that we did for about a decade in Lawrence, Kansas. And we saw the short, we saw the potential, and we were like, hey, let's take this and expand it into a feature.
Is Joe okay?
Who? No, man, no one is okay.
And then kind of working together as brothers, we do so much in tandem. When it comes to concepting the film, we usually have some kind of high concept we start with, and then we start fleshing out scenes, and we have so much reference material that we show to the cast and crew from, imagery to other films. We make our own trailers and lookbooks, and all these things kind of really help inspire the crew and the actors and gets them excited, because that's all you have to really show them. You can describe all day you want, but once you have these kind of visual representations, it really gets them excited.
We
Yeah.
storyboard every shot, we storyboard every edit. Practically. We do animatics for trickier scenes. The opening scene on the chain gang becomes more complicated. We had to storyboard that, and showing all those to the actors and producers and people gives people confidence and lets people see the movie in their heads, and it's just so helpful for us.
Yeah, because you guys are graphic designers, and what I've noticed when I research you, you're very visual. Tell that to young filmmakers how they're missing that. Here's my piece of paper I want you to read and give me money and be inspired by that. Tell me, it's so amazing what you guys do.
I think about this all the time. This is what I want to tell all starting filmmakers, is that it's a visual medium, and that I think the greatest filmmaker of all time is from Kansas, Buster Keaton.
He was the greatest of all the clowns. Buster Keaton.
And his films are purely visual. It is Looney Tunes style setup, set up expectations, do a reversal. Everything comes through in facial expressions, and just lean into what is your film without any dialogue.
I think what really kind of sparred that idea of making it very visual is that when we were younger, 8 and 10, we were making films out. We're out from the middle of nowhere town called Offerly by Dodge City, 200 people. And so there were no film schools there. There was no mystic filmmaker living out that we went to. We just had to figure it out ourselves. And I think when we started doing the 40-hour film festival in Lawrence, we said, okay, we're not the best actors. We don't have the best cameras. The only thing we can do is tell the best story visually. Suspense is about a paratrooper who gets jettisoned out of a plane that's exploding, and then his parachute gets stuck in a tree canopy, and he's too high off the ground to where he can't just drop down or he'll be severely injured.
Hello? Dave! Hello?
And he's basically stuck there in the night, in the dark, and then basically a creature shows up in the night, and so he has to figure out how to get out of the situation.
shorts are comedy shorts, horror shorts. This put somebody in a situation and then it turned onto it, which I thought was great. Am I making sense here?
Yeah, I think that's Stephen King's whole thing. I think that, I wish he could see it someday, because I think it's almost like a short story of his, like Gerald's Game or something, where it's just stuck in a unique situation that's especially awful, and that was a big inspiration also.
So it holds 6 bullets.
What perspective do you guys bring to your films?
I think the perspective we bring for this film especially is, like Ben said, we grew up in a really small town by Dodge City, middle of nowhere, but we lived in Kansas our entire lives, and when we were looking at this film, we said, there's a lot of films set in Kansas. I feel like there's not a lot of films about Kansas. And that was important to us, is that we really get the Kansas attitude, the Kansas kind of perspective, the sense of humor, the Catholicism is important in this movie, the characters, the chain gang, I don't know if Kansas has chain gangs anymore, but
a lot of the kind of the characters that show up in the film are based off of people that we knew growing up too.
Exactly.
So we love bringing that in. And then, I think at one point our main character visits like an abandoned house that a grandmother used to have and then left to the grandkids. It's like we used to go to those all the time when we were younger. And our main character talks about working in a grain silo, and like we had to work in a grain silo, and that was really intense. And so all of these kind of personal touches we wove into the film to, someone around Kansas would be like, oh yeah, I recognize it. But to someone, across the world or across the U.S., they'd be like, oh, whoa, this is really interesting. It's like when they watch Fargo or something, they're like, oh, I didn't know. Like the specificity makes it more personal and interesting, as opposed to trying to, play a really broad audience or a really broad stroke.
Yeah, that makes it more universal. The more specific it is, and the more specific your opinion is, and the more personal, the more creative. I think that's what Scorsese said. So that's what we're trying to do. That's what we like to do, and it's just fun. We just want to make stuff that entertains our friends and families, and that's what we've been doing since we were kids. So that's the goal.
Kansas City. How great is Kansas City?
Kansas City is amazing. You could not make this film anywhere else. There are so many talented people here. There are so many amazing locations, so many passionate people, so much potential here to make amazing stuff. And I don't want it to go to Oklahoma. I don't want it to go to, Georgia and Illinois. Let's pass some awesome tax cuts. Let's do what we can to make sure people are staying here and not, creative brain drain out to LA or to Georgia. There's so much potential here. What else you have to say?
You said it all. That's it.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And like I said, there's so many films, let's have more films in Kansas about Kansas. There's so much more potential here. I've seen it. There's nothing else to be told about LA. I know everything about LA and New York. I don't care anymore. What's going on here?
Well, I'm gonna die. I'm willing to take that chance.